What's good, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Power 2 podcast presented by Get the Fit to Sports Network. I, as always, am your host, Jordan, and I'm here with my
And
co-host, DJ.
you're looking for something? Hi,
I
I am
am.
DJ.
I am.
Look at us
Because
over here looking like bumblebees. I love this. The black and the yellow. Come on, Wiz Khalifa. I live. This is great.
week. All right. Wiz Khalifa, that's a throwback. Back when he
I
used to
love
make
me
good
some Wiz.
music.
Not just, it's been a couple months, but he released, oh my gosh, why can't I think of what it's called?
I didn't
Um,
I didn't know we were still listening to Wiz Khalifa in
we are still
2025.
listening, over here in my house, we are still listening to Wiz Khalifa.
Okay. Love
I don't
that.
know why I can't think of what the name of that album is called. It's like his iconic album. He released the second part of it because that's what all the artists are doing right now. Um, and I keep wanting to say gin and juice, and that's just not correct. But it has something to do with juice. Whatever.
OJ and Cushion OJ or something.
Push and OJ. Yes. He
Yeah.
did a part two, and he released that I don't know, like maybe 2-3 months ago.
Interessante. And you
Yeah.
learn something new every day.
Yes.
You
His Club
learn
Shay Shay interview was quite
that
entertaining.
Wiz Khalifa's
This was
still making music. Is this
prior to
before or after?
before or after what?
Yeah, Club Shay Shay.
I have stopped watching Club Shay Shay
So
ever
it
since
was
he
before.
gave
Got you.
generational wealth to a white woman.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Understood.
And now he thinks it's funny to make jokes about it. And it's
So
like,
yeah,
dude,
my pocket's a little thin right now. Shut up.
that's not funny. And also, this is not the first time you've had to pay someone for assaulting them.
Oh, it's not. You know what? We're
But
not gonna talk about that today
yes,
because we
everybody
gonna be
likes
here
to
for
forget
7
because
hours.
he's the internet's uncle. But this is not the first
I didn't forget. I don't
set of
think I
allegations.
knew, but that's
Yeah,
crazy.
this is not the first set of allegations. This is like the fifth. Creepy old man. Anyways, welcome to Power 2 Podcast, where we talk about the power of
Not having to
settling.
pay people for sexually assaulting them,
There you go, because
The
neither one
power
of
of
us will be doing that.
consent.
The
The power
power of
of
consent.
consent. Consent goes a long way. It really does. It's this
Because
beautiful thing that you could do that would save you time, money, and if you're not rich, jail time. Well, let's be honest. Never mind. Most men don't go to jail for that, anyways. But
most men aren't going to jail for it anyways. They're only going to jail when people lie, which is I can't even deal with that right now. But that's not the point. The point is get consent in all things, not just in, the context that we're speaking. Get consent from your friends to smoke around them if you're a smoker, things
well,
like that.
I give my consent for us to transition into the news. Do you give your consent
Yes,
to transition into the news?
I consent. Let's do it.
Let's do it. There's news. For those. Okay, so I don't know that I've done this recently, but anyone who's been listening to me for any number of time knows I have a weird thing with media. We both have a weird thing with media, but totally
I
different
was
ways.
what do you mean by weird?
I'm really into
The deals.
the deals and the contracts and just things in general. I was just talking to my wife because Disney announced recently that they're ending Hulu and they're going to do a
Yes,
combined app with Disney Plus.
they already
And
have it.
yes, but it's going to if you did not know,
Yes,
everything that's on Hulu is already on Disney Plus.
yes.
But it's just a conversation that I've been having for a while about how I didn't like the rollout of Disney Plus and HBO Max getting rid of the HBO and things like that. I just think about stuff like that and just talking about everyone was really worried about streaming and I was so many of these apps are going to fail. I just have ideas about this sort of stuff. And I was talking about
Well,
it
actually, what's
because
going to happen is they're all going to merge again, and then they're going to
yes,
call it cable.
well, no, but, but, but just talking about why some of these apps are going to fail and different things like that. If you care about my opinion on this, getting rid of the Hulu app, dumb. I understand why they're doing it because Disney is the name, but Hulu has the brand recognition as far as the cable app. Right, I imagine it still has the most number of subscribers, and
I
also
don't know.
it has Hulu plus live TV.
Yeah.
Obviously they can just call it Disney plus live TV, but it's just I understand that Disney is the name. I get it, whatever. But as the property, Hulu is the one that's been around longer, has the more things tied to it. And seeing that you put Hulu's catalog on Disney Plus, it's the one with the catalog. You
It's the
literally
one
could have
with
just
the
kept,
draw.
you
Yeah.
literally could have just kept, if you have Max, HBO Max, you know that they have the Cartoon Network hub and this
Yeah.
hub. You
Yeah.
literally could have just put the Disney hub on Hulu and combined it that way. And personally, that would make more sense to me. But they have to have the Disney name on it. It's dumb.
Well,
But
it's all ABC, first of all. It's all ABC. And
it's all
then
Disney. Disney owns ABC, not the other way
Disney owns
around.
ABC now. Okay, yeah. Because
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, at one point it was
Disney's the
backwards,
parent
but
company. Yeah.
that's why I'm like, Disney's the parent company, so it also makes sense as to why
Which is why I
we're
get
here.
why they're putting it
Yeah.
under the Disney Plus banner. I just think that's dumb. But no one accuses these people of making good decisions. A decision that Disney did make through ESPN
Because they own them
is
too.
they are
Clock that T.
acquiring the NFL Network, NFL media assets in exchange for a 10% equity in ESPN. The reason why they're doing that, if you do not remember, is because ESPN, if you don't pay attention to these things, not if you don't remember, is that ESPN has been hinting for a year or two that they were going to provide a direct to consumer alternative to cable
Product.
that was going
Yeah.
to be like $29.99, and essentially any sport that is on ESPN you could get. It's like souped up ESPN Plus. They also just made a deal with WWE, but the reason why they wanted to do it is because like most sports is on ESPN, yes, but you are not going to get people to really do this if you don't have more NFL properties. Like that's
Yeah.
what people are really doing. So they get the NFL Network, which the NFL has been trying to get rid of because people are realizing that it costs a lot of money and effort and time to run an NFL, like to run a media property, which is why the SEC essentially gave control of the SEC network to ESPN. The
To
ACC
yeah.
network is ESPN. Big Ten networks run by Fox. Like these companies were trying to run their own media outlets, and they realized that this is a lot of work. So they've been trying to get rid of it for a while. So ESPN is acquiring the rights of NFL Network. It is acquiring the rights to Red Zone, and it is also getting like additional games to be put on ESPN. And they're doing all of this because they're putting on an app before football season where instead of buying cable, instead of doing all these things, anything that's on ESPN, you can purchase. That doesn't work for me because Big Ten fan. This is also a Big Ten episode today. The Big Ten's not on ESPN at all, so you don't get that. But ACC, SEC, NFL, now WWE, almost all of the college sports, I believe the whole NBA tournament, some WNBA games, anything that's
Oh,
on the
please, free the NBA
ESPN.
tournament.
Yes, anything that is on ESPN and ABC is going to be on this app, and you can do it for $30. So if you don't watch the other things, or if you have like the higher level of Paramount Plus or things like that, where you can get like CBS or things like that, essentially they're just providing another cable alternative. And again, largely it's going to cover most of sports. Oh, it also has UFC. Like it's going to cover most of sports. I think the things that's not going to be on there is obviously the NFL games that are on CBS, Fox, and Amazon, and it's not going to have the Big Ten, but it will have the college football playoff, which works for me because when I'm ready to cancel my expensive ass YouTube TV in January, because all I need is the playoffs, I can just pay $30 for that, and then I'll cancel that. So that's news.
I hate it. That's
I
all I have to say. Is I hate it. I'm not entirely sure why I hate it at the moment. I just hate it. I think I just hate it because the biggest thing that concerns me about this is in the NFL's ownership stake in ESPN. Because ESPN at the end of the day is it's news, right? It's news,
well,
it's journalists, it's
it,
we
not no
know,
more, but
we know. But what I'm saying is the idea of ESPN, right? When you turn on ESPN during the day, what do you watch? You watch the shows are news essentially. Now, granted, have they gone off the wagon since in the recent years? Yes, so much so that even Michelle Obama herself has commented on it. But what I'm getting at is there's still a level of integrity, hopefully, that we would like to associate with ESPN as far as news goes. So when you have a league that has ownership stake in it, that's what gives me a little bit of pause because I'm like, okay, so then that means, sorry, there's all these noises. Okay, so then that means if there's something negative going on with the NFL and they have 10% stake in the ESPN, then they could potentially block news breaks and things like that from happening because they have a lot more skin in the game than they would have had prior. So that's the only thing is that in a world where it feels like There's so much censorship going on already. If y'all catch my drift, I'm speaking specifically to American media at the moment.
Well, and
Overtaking,
ESPN is only an American company, so
yes, that's why I'm like, just with American media and how much censorship there is going on, that gives me anxiety. Like that lets me know, okay, I might not be able to trust anything that ESPN says about the NFL now because it's going to be sanitized. It's going to be, you know what I mean?
yeah. Also, on another end, the NFL is essentially buying into sports betting because
Yeah,
ESPN has a sports betting book, which it should not. Irregardless of this, ESPN should never have been allowed to create a sports book,
I
and
agree.
nobody
I've always
regulated
thought
that.
that was weird. I've
And
always
now the
thought that was weird.
NFL, by proxy, is buying into a sports book,
Which means that they're getting profit from the
sports
bets that would
betting.
then be placed on
Yep,
not only their product, but any product that ESPN Sportsbook has, which I do believe is all of the sports, as far as I know, that you can bet on.
probably. Yep.
So they're also getting revenue from NBA betting and all that other stuff. This is a very, very slippery slope, and this is actually a very, very huge piece of news. Not even if you're not, even if you're not like a media nerd like Jordan and I are. This is very unprecedented. This has never happened before, where a sports media network where a league, excuse me, has stake in a sports media network. Because again, back to Jordan's earlier point, usually they would just produce their own networks in house. They wouldn't have to go and use other networks. So this is actually a very, very big deal. And this sets a very interesting precedent moving forward for other leagues and when their TV deals come up, how they will interact with ESPN now knowing that basically ESPN is for sale. So
Yeah, and especially because it's just like, and the funny thing is, this is supposed to release this week, like sorry, not this week, this month, and there's still not a whole lot of information exactly on what the
how it's going to work.
DTC direct to consumer thing is going to be. Outside of
Yeah.
that, everything on ESPN is going to be there, but yeah, like ESPN is. Netflix is trying to get into sports. Amazon has had a huge hold in sports. I mean, Amazon just knocked TNT out of basketball. So
I know.
when these deals start to come up, what else is ESPN going to be trying to get a deal on, right? Like what else are they going to try to control, right? I haven't watched it yet, but the SEC has a documentary on like a live documentary on Netflix. If you haven't been paying attention, which if you're listening to this podcast, I don't know you haven't, Netflix has basically replaced the 30 for 30s because ESPN hasn't been doing them, which breaks
Ugh.
my heart. But Netflix has been doing this really cool thing, which is not groundbreaking. They've just been doing it really well, where they've been doing more like live, like the quarterback, the wide receiver. They had, I think it was Amazon that did the SEC, the LSU one, but they're
Yes,
doing
Amazon did do
documentaries
it.
where they're
So good.
following players, teams, people, whatever through a season. They did that last year through the SEC, just dropped it called Any Given Sunday. Well, what is ESPN going to be like? You can't do that anymore, SEC, and like we're going to drop our version of that and make it like try to revive 30 for 30. Like these sort of properties being all put into one sort of thing isn't great, which is another reason that like I was happy that the Big Ten basically said no to ESPN because it brought another entity back into college sports. Like it brought
What is it,
NBC
NBC?
into college
Mm-hmm.
sports who
Mm-hmm.
only had Notre Dame, and it kept CBS into college sports because the SEC was getting rid of CBS. So variety is good. Like market value is good. If all of these things disappear, then it also allows ESPN to just set the price on things. NFL fantasy, which I don't personally know anyone who did fantasy on NFL.com, but NFL
No, I do it through
fantasy
ESPN.
is being merged with ESPN. So now ESPN
Well,
is getting a bigger stake in ESPN fantasy, and they're going to become the official fantasy partner of everything. And so it's also going to have college football, NFL, U.S. tennis, international soccer, women's soccer, volleyball, field hockey, the start of the WNBA playoffs, the PLL playoffs, NBA, NHL seasons, as well as UFC and WWE.
not a fan. I know it's like a sports network, so it's like, yeah, but like I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into this because I'm like I have two thoughts because I'm like I also really hate that every Sunday I have to look up where the games are because they're all in 55 different places. So that is nice to say like okay, there's just one place to go for all the games, but also with that being
Well,
said,
most, not all, but
right. But the point is like on any given Sunday, it's like, oh, I need Paramount Plus, I need Peacock, I need Amazon, and I need whoever else just to watch all the games that day. So it'd be nice to say like, okay, eventually we'll get to a point where like you just have to go to one place, which was what cable was for. Um,
And honestly, I think
but
the funny thing is everyone's doing this like cable's gonna come back thing, but like the reason why cable failed was the fault of the cable companies.
oh yeah,
So it's just funny that like because if you think about it, streaming wasn't like the cable companies are in streaming now, i.e.
yeah,
Disney Plus, this, i.e. Paramount Plus, HBO Max,
they all created
like
their
they
own
created their own, but
platforms.
they were very,
Yeah,
very late for it. Like Paramount
yes,
is 5 years old, maybe, or at least that has been relevant. Like
yeah.
CBS, Peacock is a couple. Like cable companies are really late to it.
Peacock was like the first one to be like,
And honestly, the only reason they're even getting anything is because they essentially wrote it into their new media deals that they can put live sports on the apps. Because otherwise, people were just like, we don't need this. We'll just get YouTube
yeah,
TV and we'll have everything. And now they're like, well,
yeah,
we can put an Ohio State game on Peacock, so you have to do it. So like, inadvertently, cable is coming back, but it's always funny because like cable's gone because the cable companies fucked it up.
yeah. Because they started to do the same thing that happens in a lot of American business, and that is they try to squeeze every single dime and dollar out of the consumer by continuing to splice down their packages to where you couldn't even get what you needed off of one package. You had to do all the add-ons and all the things. By the time you were done, it was costing you $150 just to
Yeah,
watch TV.
and
So it's like,
that didn't include internet.
and that did not include the internet that you were also combining with your TV, and then obviously back in the old days where you also had your home phones as well. So it's like, and they think that you would think you were getting a deal when really you're paying
Yeah.
$150 for TV. Like that's not normal. But now we're here where a lot of us do have some sort of cable because of whatever reason. Like I'm still like, why do I have cable? I actually don't know, but whatever. Like I have cable, I've got Peacock, I've got Paramount, I've got Disney Plus, I had Hulu, I have all these things. So we're back up to paying almost 100, $200 a month just to watch TV. And now the gag is there's so much overlap too, where it's like, okay, I could stream this on Peacock or I could stream this on Spectrum. I'm paying for both of them.
Yeah.
Like,
Like if as of right now, just because it's football season, so I got YouTube TV back, I'm probably if I counted up all of my streaming and YouTube TV, I'm probably am paying $150.
yeah,
And then
I surely am.
my internet's $75. So it's
There you go.
essentially you put it together, 225 dollars, something like that.
To
The
watch the
one
television.
I will say two things because we've been very negative, I think, as we should be. The positive of this and why I still do like streaming is you can cancel whenever you wanted to because cable was putting you in these 2 and 3 term deals.
We have
So
signed contracts.
that is a bit that
Yeah,
is still a benefit.
I
Like
agree.
for me, I only pay this from
For three
August
months. Yeah,
to
4 months.
January. And
Yeah.
then I don't have YouTube TV. And if I wanted, like, I haven't been able to watch as much sports because, like, I haven't been able to watch all the NBA playoffs and some of those things. I could switch to this $30 thing for the rest of the year and get more sports than I'm able to get currently. So that is, I will, to end on a positive note,
I
there are
agree with that.
negative things about it, but in a society where everything's expensive, to be able to watch most sports, again, a lot of college football, almost all of college football, a decent amount of the NFL, uh, U.S. Open tennis, soccer, women's college soccer, volleyball, field hockey, the WNBA playoffs, PLL playoffs, NBA, NHL seasons, UFC, and WWE. To be able to get all of that for $30, there is definitely a market for that because there is an 18-year-old who can do $30 a month. There is someone who can afford cable and internet but could afford this for their family. So there is some positives to it, but you do also have to kind of notice the insidious nature of it because also like ESPN's doing this, but part of the reason everyone's cable bill was high is because ESPN kept jacking up their
It's because
prices. And
ESPN.
then the cable companies were then having to put that on the consumer. So there's a lot to it, but
Yeah.
there
Yeah. And
is like you're gonna get ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, SEC Network, ACC Network, ESPN News, ESPN Deportes, ABC, ESPN Plus, ESPN3, SEC Network Plus, and ACC Network NX, whatever that is. So like you're going
and
to
to be
cover so
clear, those
much
should have
of
never been
sports.
separate entities to begin with.
So and when
Those
you
should
think
have
so it's one of the like whatever. It is what it is. That's the news. Moving
it
on.
is. I will say these streaming services, I have a tweet that's going a little crazy right now because I had went to go cancel my Peacock Because they went up again. It was $7.99. I didn't want to go up to $10.99. Y'all not giving me $3 more of content, so I don't understand why I got to pay y'all $3 more. Like, that don't make no sense. So I go to cancel my Peacock, and it goes, wait. Don't cancel. We can give it to you for $2.99 for 6 months. So what you're telling me is that you never needed my $11.
Nope, they didn't.
That's what you're telling me.
They
You're
didn't.
telling me that this $11 to $20 price tag is just a whole bunch of execs with big enough pockets already trying to figure out how to make their pockets bigger. Got it.
Yeah.
And then to have the audacity, because y'all got to understand, Auntie is old. I lived it during the time when Netflix was sending people DVDs. Okay? I'm old. I remember still going to Blockbuster and picking out the movie for the weekend or whatever the case is. Like, that's in no way to like be like, back in the old days. It's just to say like, we have strayed. We have strayed so far away from like the original concepts of streaming. Like, Netflix was just trying to make it easier for you to get films so you wouldn't have to go to a physical store. That was the point. Then they put TV shows and started creating their own originals and all that other stuff and became streaming. And then it was like, oh, it was a big deal because it was ad free. Girl, why we got ads now? And it's $20. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyways, we're here to talk about the Big Ten. We're not here to complain about streaming.
More news that will go very much more quicker than that. NBA Christmas has been announced because the NBA season, the off season lasts 2 weeks because this season's too long. The Christmas lineup, which I don't even watch NBA Christmas. I'm watching the NFL, and everyone's like, the NFL has infringed on the NBA. I don't care.
Y'all will be okay because Beyonce performed last year for NFL Christmas.
Stop.
I'm sorry.
I don't care.
I'm watching that.
So we have Cavs at Knicks, Spurs at Thunder, Rocket at Lakers, Mavs at Warriors, Timberwolves at Nuggets. Interesting, I guess.
I mean, like, the Timberwolves and the Nuggets will be cute.
Cavs, Knicks.
That will be cute as well.
I think
Mitch has a fiance now.
I think I would have preferred. No, I mean, Spurs Thunder is also going to be good. The Spurs is that team that's low key next up. I could care less about Rockets Lakers, but the Lakers always have to be on there. I don't give a crap. I could care less about Mavs Warriors as well.
I would rather Mavs Lakers because Luka versus
Skinny Luka, Skinny Luka versus
it was
Mavs?
right there.
You know
it was
like,
right
you could have done
there.
That. Yeah.
Skinny Luka with his new 3-year, $160 million deal.
Also, we have all the Texas teams, which part of that is the young talent, which we did talk about, but like, okay,
it's just everybody in Texas is going to be busy on Christmas Day. Everybody else is going to be, I guess, doing something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's no shade. It's really no shade, though.
I mean, it don't matter to me. I'm not going to be watching it. The other thing that I won't be watching, but I do think is hilarious. I just love the pettiness of scheduling, and it's just like these schedules are so big, and like if we're being honest, most of it is done by the computer, and then it's like fine tooth comb by people and things like that.
The WNBA schedule was definitely done by a damn computer.
But making KD go to the Thunder ring ceremony is hilarious.
Wait, what?
You didn't realize that? Who does KD play for right now?
No, he plays for the Rockets.
Yeah, Rockets Thunder. No, I know. The ring ceremony is the first game of the year.
Oh, that's their first game?
Yes. So KD is going to watch the Thunder get their ring. Just the petty. The level of petty in that decision. The level of petty in that decision is just
that is so
crazy.
Messy. Oh my God.
Yeah. I wonder if he'll brush his hair for it.
I don't think KD brushes his hair anymore.
He brushed his hair for Taylor Rook's wedding. I don't know if he thought he was going to steal it or what, but he brushed it.
I didn't know that.
That's the first time I've seen his hair brushed. His hair was
I did not know that. He's going back and forth with somebody on Twitter right now, actually, about something. I don't know. Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton commented or retweeted it, which is the only reason why I even know anything about it. But one thing I can appreciate about KD, he'd be saying on business on Twitter. He'd be like, "Do not play in my face." He said, "My level of greatness is so high, you taking it for granted." I said, "Period."
Hey, talk about it.
I said, "You ain't never lied." Anyways,
another piece of news. The Washington Mystics, right? Traded. Is that right?
I'm not confirming.
Aliyah. I've never said their name. I just call them
Washington. He's distraught.
I just call them Washington
because his fave has been traded. He doesn't know the name of the team.
It's just like I just think like I get it. Sonia Citron is nice. Kiki Arifin has been good, but like I don't listen, DJ. Tell me if this is a new concept. I want to run this. I want to run this new idea by you. Okay.
I'm scared.
You can have a lot of good players. I know that's new, I know that's a new concept that we've never heard of. I know, but like when you have a good draft class and there's a really good player, and then the next
Here's
year
the
you get another good player, you could keep them.
here's the thing though.
You
Here's
could
the thing.
build with good young players.
Here's the thing. The I would argue that draft picks in the next two WNBA drafts are some of the most valuable draft picks that all of these teams will have. Period. Point blank. I don't care. The 2026 draft class being headlined by AZ Fudd, please. The 2027 draft class being headlined by Juju Watkins, please, or Lauren Betts and AZ Fudd, whatever. There's so hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. So for a team like Washington, who just got three amazing players just from 3 first-round draft picks, Sonia Citron, Kiki Iriafen, and Georgia Amore, may her ACL rest in peace, they're looking at it from a longevity standpoint of like, okay, if we have more draft picks in these next few drafts, we could win in the next 4 years.
And you
Like
can't do that with
that's
Aliyah
possible for
Edwards.
them.
See, the problem that I have with these
That's
the
possible for
problem
them.
that I
But the
have
thing,
with these rebuilding teams is that they don't know when to stop. Because
yeah.
think about it,
But
Aliyah
also
Edwards,
OKC
Kiki
just won a championship off of a
because
rebuild.
they stopped. Because they got their good players and then they stopped trading them away.
But that hasn't happened yet for the Mystics.
Right. Because they're all in their first and second year. You telling me with all of the players, and part of it is they need to build a locker room and all that and stuff, right? You
Yes.
telling me that if they had the money and the will, that a vet wouldn't look at that roster with Kiki, Aliyah, Sonia Citron, and Georgia Amore, and if they had the facilities, the other things that mattered, they couldn't sign the
But they
vets.
don't. But they don't.
But that's
So
the
they have
thing.
to.
So instead of
They have to go
trading the
off
good
of.
players for like, and the thing is, I understand that there's good players, but Aliyah Edwards is really good. So you're
She is.
trading for the future of hope because they could draft poorly. Like that is a thing that could happen. They
Yeah.
could draft poorly instead of just keeping the good players that you have.
Yes, but unfortunately, Aliyah got her spot took, and she got it took by Kiki, and that is just what happened.
And
Now,
that's fine, but you can't
was
have
Aliyah
too many
injured?
good players.
Yes, and no, you cannot have too many good players. But if it comes down to it,
And did you get your spot took if you were injured?
yes, because she came back and she still got her spot took. So
Listen,
yes,
I get
but
it. It's fine.
but and this is no shade to Aliyah. Honestly, though, I feel like that's actually a better spot for Aliyah to be in. Like
I'm only talking about the business decision.
Yeah.
Aaliyah going to a contender, much better. Great for her.
I mean, she's not. Well, Connecticut's not a contender because
Wait, did
Connecticut
she went
is
to
8.
Connecticut?
Connecticut is 8-21. Yeah, so she
Why did
didn't
I
go.
think she went to?
You might be mixing up Brittany Sykes. Brittany Sykes went to a contender. She
I
went to
thought
Seattle.
she went to Phoenix.
No,
Oh, you
no,
didn't
no.
correct
She
me
went
in
to
our text message
Connecticut.
when I said contender.
I didn't hear you say.
They
I
sent
don't
her
remember
to
you
the
saying
middle of
that.
nowhere.
They
I don't wanna
sent
talk
her
about this
to
no more.
Connecticut.
I don't want to talk about
and
this no more. They sent her to the
Because
middle of
remember,
nowhere.
I told you I was like, oh, she's gonna be able to play with the legend Tina Charles.
No.
Like,
You didn't say a name. You just said play with a legend, and there's a legend on Phoenix.
okay,
So that
my
didn't
bad.
change
I
my
missed
mind.
that. I was not reading the
Connecticut
text
just
fully.
doesn't exist in my head. So I saw that and
Connecticut
didn't even think
fully
about it.
exists, and Connecticut is
I don't know
trash.
why I thought they were.
Currently.
Because the Suns and the Phoenix Suns and I'm tripping.
You gotta stop mixing the girls up. Yes, the Connecticut Sun is not a contender. They
sent her to the middle of nowhere. They sent her to bumfuck.
First
They
of
sent
all,
her to purgatory.
They sent her down the street.
They sent her to purgatory. That is disrespectful.
And also, the way that Connecticut plays with their bigs is very different than the way
they
that
sent her to purgatory.
Will you please?
No,
It's different than the way the Mystics plays with their bigs. So I feel like she's actually in a better spot. I don't think the Mystics, and mind you, the Mystics have been shopping her all season. They've been talking about trading her all season. This was not like,
it's cool. It's
oh my
cool.
God,
it's
she's
cool. Whatever.
Even before she started playing this year, it was known that she was probably going to be traded. So
hate to see a young Black woman survive. They hate to see it. They truly do. Anyways, so we can actually talk about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we're 30 minutes in. And this is your favorite conference.
I know. I would just like to say, sometimes I know ball. Sometimes I'm right. A lot more times than people would like to recognize. Arch Manning's grandfather, the first Arch Manning, came out and said that
I didn't realize he was named after somebody. I feel really stupid.
Yeah, he's named after his granddad.
Oh, love.
Yeah, he is. He acknowledged and said that Arch Manning is staying through 2026. He's not going to be in next year's draft. Yeah.
Were we confused about that?
Yes, because he's going to be eligible for next year's draft.
That doesn't mean he needs to do it. What are we talking?
Well, because he's God's gift to earth, they thought he was going to be a one and done starter, and he was going to go be the first round pick next year.
Okay.
Which, like, here's the thing: if he was as good as people think he is, he could technically do
Sure.
that. But
Sure.
sometimes you just have to read the tea leaves. He sat at Texas for 2 years with the name Manning. No trade rumors, no transfer rumors. You thought the Mannings were going to have him. The worst thing that
One and done?
the worst thing that the Mannings
Oh,
could
gosh.
do is literally let him go out, be bad, and then be a bust with that name Manning. They are going to give him every chance to be good. And
What?
they know if he's good. And that's my thing. I've never said he wasn't going to be good. But clearly, they don't even think he's going to be the best quarterback. Artest told you himself. He's like, hey, can I just play the game?
I would like to just
like we talked about
pick
this
up
last
the ball,
week or
throw it
before
around a little
that,
bit.
but like the Manning name comes with a lot of things, and I'm sure that there are rooms that they step in and expect things.
Yeah.
The one thing that family has never expected is to be given things on the field.
Like,
that is the only thing that I don't know what happens when they go in them business meetings. I don't know what happens when they go to ESPN and say we want to do this show. I don't know what happens. But when we talking about on the field, and then you're talking about the son of the brother who didn't make it due to injuries and things like that.
I always wondered.
Do you hear the way the Mannings talk about it? Like, I just feel like it was very obvious he was going to be there for 2 years.
I think that's why I'm looking crazy, because I'm very much like,
because also like
duh, like what are
not
we
even
what?
just outside of him. Peyton talks about all the time leaving too early and leaving before you're ready, and like, and he's rich. He don't need the money. Half the time people leave early, and why we're seeing it a little bit less with NIL is because they want the money. He don't need it. So he's going to stay and develop to be as best as he can and to get the college experience and to do 2 + 2 is equaling 2020. I've been saying for years he wasn't going to be in the 2026 draft. He was going to be in 2027. A whole bunch of my every time I talk to my friends all the time, and I'm like, I want the Colts to be awful this year to have a top 3 pick so we can get a quarterback. And every single one of them is always like, you want Arch Manning? And my answer is always no. He's going to be in 2027. No, he's not going to be in that
draft. He will not be in that draft. I mean, y'all are going to be ass anyway because.
But we're never asked enough.
Daniel Jones, and what's his name?
The problem is we're never asked enough. We're always 12th pick ass, and then they won't trade up. I need to bottom out. And then the one time we were that bad, I just can't believe you're really a dead-ass Indiana Colts fan. The one time we were that bad, we got the fucking 4th pick. We weren't even bad enough. There were only two good quarterbacks in that year, and we ended up with the 4th pick, and we got Anthony Richardson. That's why I needed top 3 pick, because they won't trade up. I honestly, and I want to say number 1, but there's probably gonna be teams worse than us. We need 2 or 3. We need 2 or 3.
Might be us, honestly. It might be the Cowboys.
Stop playing with me, bro.
Honestly.
Oh my god.
Because, child. Well, honestly, I don't know what the Cowboys look like. I've actually been on strike this time. I don't even know if I'm going to watch them in the regular season. I'm so apathetic. I don't even care. I literally don't even care. It's too much shenanigans going on. Michael Parsons on the internet talking about he want to trade. It's just too much going on. It's just too much going on. It's just too much going on. Then we got Dez Bryant and Nicki Minaj and beef on Twitter. It's too much going on.
Too much. All I know is I will be watching the Colts this year, and I hope I watch them lose. Sad. Because shout out to Big Verizon. Everybody be like, why do you pay that much for your phone bill? I tell you why.
Because it comes with NFL Red Zone.
Well,
right?
It's not free. There's like almost a 50% discount on NFL Sunday Ticket. So I'm gonna get it for like $200. You can also get Red Zone at a discount. I'm gonna get it for like $200-something instead of $500, which is a big difference.
These numbers that we're talking about, these numbers. Why is it costing $200 and some odd dollars to watch the football?
I can't
be existential today. I'm sorry. I can't be existential today. I'm just so irritated.
The reason why we're here, is we're here for our Big Ten preview.
We are.
We have done the ACC. We have done the Big 12. We have done the SEC.
Unfortunately.
Big 12. Big 10. Now I'm doing what you did last time. Big 10 conference.
The biggest. The largest.
Listen, you already know what it is. If this is your first preview, how we do these previews. Yes, welcome.
Thanks for sitting with us for 30 minutes before we got to it.
I mean, but at least this time the news was interesting. Like, sometimes we just be talking. Like, this is all good conversation.
Well, we do
be on
just
here
be talking.
This is like,
Well, we're friends with one another who like sports.
How dare we?
If y'all listen to people talk, then
how dare we?
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
The way we do these previews, we focus on a couple of things. We focus on emerging storylines. We focus on top transfers. We look at contenders, we look at dark horses, we look at the critical matchups, we guess the number of playoff participants, and then we pick our conference winner.
Yeah, we
And
do.
doing this, we are open and honest about the fact that we don't talk about every single team. This is the one conference that I could talk about every single team, and I do talk about every single team if you want to listen to the I-80 football show. But
There
I
you go.
contend we are two friends who like sports. We do not get paid to do this. I'm not going to sit in here and lie to you and pretend like I know what Mississippi State's doing.
I don't
I'm
give a
not going
crap.
to sit here and pretend like I know what Stanford's doing. So, yes, if you want a more in depth every team preview, this is not it. But if you just want to, this is for the good, the casual, the real football fans. We're going to talk about the things that matter, and we're going to throw in some. This is for us. This is us. This is what we do. So I'm sorry, Big Ten. Well, I'm not apologizing for the Big Ten because, again, I have a different podcast where I've talked about all 18 teams. So if you want that for the Big Ten, you can find it. But I'm sorry if you're a Mississippi State fan. I'm sorry if you're a Stanford fan. I'm sorry if you're a University of North Texas. We didn't get to you. I do apologize, but we here for the Big Ten today. Emerging storylines, Big Ten. The biggest storyline in the conference, and arguably all of the sport, Penn State's national championship chase. I would like to lay the table
Yes.
on this very quickly. Okay, DJ, I would like to lay the. I'm watching. I have
Are
YouTube
you?
TV
I'm
again.
watching it too.
I have YouTube TV again, so I can watch sports. I
I'm
haven't
watching
watched
it too.
any
I'm watching
WNBA
it
because
too.
I didn't have cable until
Dejanay
August.
having herself a little 15-pointer. Yes,
Um,
I'm watching. It's the first time the Liberty. It's the first time, not the first. It's the second time the Liberty and the Lynx. Yeah, we're about to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for a moment. The championship rematches are happening for some reason all back to back because the WNBA schedule was made like a computer, like I
yeah.
said earlier. So
Got
they
it.
already
Got it. Got it.
played
Got it.
once
Got it.
July 30th. They're playing again today, and I think within the next 5 to 8 days they will be playing another 2 times. Ridiculous. Why are we having these mini series in the middle of the season? I don't know, because this also happened with the Lynx in Chicago. They played each other 4 times in a row. What is that about? I don't understand. But anyways, they are playing currently, and it's looking like Minnesota is whooping ass as per usual. Minnesota, funnily enough, sorry, here we go. Funnily enough,
Defense. You can't give them DJ.
I know. Funnily enough, the New York Liberty had a rookie on their team named Jalen Sherrod. I talk about her a lot. Very, very big fan of her. She played at Colorado. She got drafted. She got made it to camp, got waived. Then mid-season, they went and got her back after Nigel Hamilton got an injury. A couple other people got injured. They went and got her back. And she ended up winning a ring. Now, did she play? No.
But a
But she
ring is
was
a ring.
there and she got the ring. Guess who the Minnesota Lynx have now decided they need on their team because they're just out shopping for dogs because they went and just got picked up Deisha Carrington. Well, Jalen Sherrod got waived from the New York Liberty when they picked up Emma Meeseman, which, again, back to the gluttony that's only described in the Bible, that is also... The New York Liberty don't need Emma Meeseman, JJ, and Breanna Stewart.
Hey, man, say, man. The rich get richer in a
That is crazy.
capitalistic society.
That is crazy. But, however, the Minnesota Lynx, they're shopping for dogs. And so they went and they picked up Jalen Sherrod. And funnily enough, Cheryl Reeve, they asked her, like, oh, what do you think Jalen could add to the team? And she's like, well, I haven't really seen her play much, but maybe, just some corporate knowledge.
Lord. Love it.
I just love it.
Back to the preview.
I love it. This
The
is a good
biggest
time.
storyline in the conference, and arguably the biggest storyline in all of the sports, is Penn State's national championship chase.
Yes, Penn State.
I just want to set the table.
What y'all gonna do? Oh, okay.
James Franklin, in my honest opinion, as someone who does not like to give credit often, you do have to earn it, is one of the best coaches in college football. Everyone likes to say that he's not because probably because he's black. Natty.
Oh, well, that too.
James Franklin has one singular problem, and it is the same problem. He can't win the big games. The thing is, Ryan Day couldn't win the big games until he won them, right?
Yeah.
Penn State is also, in my opinion, one of, if not the most unlucky team in the sport up until recently, because they were the only team that had to play Ohio State and Michigan every year. And one of them was going to be good. And most years, both of them were good. So, and we were in conferences, right? We were in divisions, so they couldn't get the benefit. If you can go 10-2, which is what they did a lot, lose to both of those two teams, and everyone says you had a bad year. So, everyone said, and rightfully so, that Penn State would be the biggest beneficiary of lack of divisions, and the expanded
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. What
Mm-hmm.
happens? They play Ohio
They
State.
benefited.
They did lose to them, but they beat just about everyone else, or did beat everyone else. Even they get to the Big Ten championship game. They lose to Oregon, but they got to the Big Ten championship game. They get a spot in the playoff. They win 2 games, and they almost beat Notre Dame and have a chance to go to the national championship if they had a better quarterback. And I contend to this day that if they would have played Ohio State in the Natty, they would have won, and not because they were better. That's just how Ohio State's luck would have went. So shout out to
Okay.
Drew Aller. Shout out to Drew Allen. Thank you. Thank you for our national championship. If it was up to me, I'd give you a ring. You losing that game got us in that. I swear we would have lost that game.
You are just
Because we
unhinged today.
always
Go ahead.
beat Penn State, which is why we would have lost to them in the 90. I was
In the Natty,
terrified. I
yeah,
am not
I
afraid to
agree.
say it. I was terrified to play Penn State in the national championship.
You
I
told
was
you said as
so
much.
happy
You said we
when
could beat everybody
Allard,
but Penn
when
State.
Allard, boy, I said, God bless that man. Throw
That's
that
really
pass in the
sad.
dirt, boy. I love to see you do that. I love it when you don't have no footwork. So,
See, and I don't have the same story with Penn State. So if we could just refrain from all this Penn State praise, please.
what did they decide to do? They decided to load up, as did Michigan.
Yes.
And this is also why this is
Yes.
important. Michigan did this in 2023 on a
Oh,
championship. Penn State did it
they
in
cheated.
2024 on a championship. So we are
They
in
won
this
fair and square.
trend of these. It's 2 years, but it's this trend of these teams bringing back all of their seniors. A lot of not their absolute best player, right? Ohio State, CJ Stroud didn't come back. Well, that was the year before, but like Ohio State, um, Marvin
had that
Harrison
boy.
Jr. didn't come back, right? For Michigan, their best player didn't come back. JJ McCarthy didn't come back, and a couple other players for Penn State. Abdul Carter didn't come back. Like these teams always lose their best 1 or 2 players. They're surefire first round picks, but they bring back everyone else. Penn State brought back Drew Aller, which I'm sorry, is not as big of a deal as people are saying, because Drew admitted to coming back because he didn't like his draft evaluation, because he's not that good. But the players who did come back, who would have been drafted pretty high, both running backs, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Their second best defensive player, denied Dennis Sutton. They also lost Tyler Warren. Again, you don't get your best players. Those are 2 first-round picks. So they bring back a lot of teams. They bring back a veteran quarterback. If you've been listening to the show throughout the summer, but especially our previews, you've heard talk and mention of a lot of young quarterbacks. So they are one of the few contenders that has a quarterback that has started multiple times. You hope for a 3rd-year jump. And also, it's just sort of thing where, like, if Penn State doesn't do it now, will they ever do it? Like, if you can't win this year, when are you going to win? Because ultimately, the one sort of negative of being the coach at Penn State is you can have good teams, you can have good rosters, but it's really hard for you to stock up like Ohio State, like Georgia,
Mhm.
like Alabama,
Mhm.
like Texas is doing now, because it's just harder to recruit to Penn State. So when they lose these players, they may not have like a Michigan fall off where they go to 6 or 7 wins, but they're probably not going to be a national title contender for at least for a year or 2. They've had 4 or so years straight at 10 wins, and you just don't know with who they're going to lose next year. You don't know if they're going to be that team.
If it's
So
going to be
for
happening again.
multiple
Yeah.
reasons, you really do need to do it. And then the last point to this as well is they also then go get Jim Knowles, who was Ohio State's defensive coordinator, and help them win to a national championship. So you get arguably one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. You have your new offensive coordinator going into his 2nd year. You bring back your quarterback. You bring back both running backs. You bring back your best defensive player. You have some young linebackers who are really good, 2 of which, I do apologize for bringing this up, had pick 6s in the playoffs. You have these good players. You bring back these things. It's now or never.
It
You
has to happen this
so
year. It has to happen this year. It has to happen this year.
that,
It has to
that's
happen
it. That's
this
all.
year. There's all these reasons we can sit here, we can run through all of that, but at the end of the day, it just happens. It has to happen this year. They get the perfect storm of circumstances. They no longer have to fight for the 4th spot in the playoffs. There's 12. They have a good number. They have a good bit of returning production. They've gone to the transfer portal. They've done all these things. You got to win now.
And not to mention, yes, Ohio State's going to be good. Yes, Texas is going to be good. Yes,
Yeah, all
Georgia's
these other
going to be
teams are
good.
still going to be good.
All of them have first-year quarterbacks. All of them.
Except for you.
So, like, that's another thing. Oregon, first-year quarterback. Ohio State, first-year quarterback. You should beat them, and you should win the Big Ten. Georgia,
Yeah.
first year quarterback. Texas, first year quarterback. Alabama, first year quarterback. If your quarterback is good, your roster is built to contend with these teams, and it is, you should have the advantage. You should be the title favorite. And I will say this, it's starting, and this is my last Ohio State rant, but
Oh,
maybe.
this is a Big Ten episode. I do believe this might be the first.
There's this thing that I've been saying, right? Because for me, my biggest thing, and I say this all the time, is consistency. And one thing that I don't like is that Ohio State did this, and they were like, Ohio State has to win a national championship. Michigan did it. Michigan has to win a national championship. And there are, to be fair, there are people doing this with Penn State, but I don't think there's enough. They're already trying to provide Penn State grace, and that is why I contend, like, yes, Penn State is not to the level of Ohio State, to the level of Alabama, even to the level of Michigan in the eyes of others, because they're getting grace that these other teams didn't receive. If Ohio State didn't win the Natty last year, they would have been butchered because of all the things and all the hype and the roster and all these other kind of things. And so we need to have that conversation with Penn State. They went and stole a national championship defensive coordinator.
Not stole.
They did. They stole him from Ohio State. They overpaid him. They stole him from Ohio State. They paid, like, he's the highest paid coordinator in the country. They're bringing back the quarterback. They're bringing back the running back. They have the offensive line. They went to the transfer portal and got a wide receiver. They did all these things. They're saying
Because they
out
didn't
of
have
their
any
mouth.
receiving yards in the game.
They're saying out of their mouth, it's Natty or bust, and we
It is.
need to hold them to that. And so that's why I think it is definitely the biggest storyline in the conference, but it's arguably the biggest storyline in all of the country. And the last twist that I'll add to this, and this is my own thing, there's no data, no sources, no whatever. I think James Franklin leaves if he doesn't win this year. I'm not saying he leaves this year, because I don't know what jobs are going to be open. It may take a year or two, but if USC is not good this year, Lincoln Riley will be gone in the next 2 years. If LSU doesn't do it this year, he may be gone this year. At Florida, there are a couple big jobs that rival Penn State that are not total rebuilds and have better recruiting territory. And if he doesn't do it this year, I think he leaves. I personally would. I'm on the train of LSU. That's if I was him, I'd call him. But LSU, Florida, USC, in my opinion, are all jobs that could pull James Franklin and are all jobs that could be open in the next 2 or 3 years. Ole Miss isn't getting him right. Like Texas A&M, I don't know if that's a job that'll pull him right there. Like Penn State is a good job, but there are 3 jobs, at least in my opinion, that could open in the next 2 or 3 years. That if he doesn't do it this year, I think he's going to be like,
I got to go somewhere.
Why
where
am I in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania? Yeah.
Yeah.
And LSU hasn't called him, but if LSU
literally
calls
the middle
him,
of nowhere.
So.
Yeah, I agree with all the things stated. I just hope that SMU it will not be a
victim
casualty to this. But yeah, I agree. I think this is Penn State's now or never year. And I also am a very, very big fan. This is a personal thing too. I'm a big fan of a team that comes out of the gate and says, we are winning a national championship. Like not this bullshit of like, oh, we're just going to go as far as we can go. We are winning a national championship. I can't wait. I would love for there to be a study done. And I'm sure maybe somebody is collecting this data. I don't know about player attitudes throughout the season and what the results actually become, because I have a very strong feeling if it's understood in the locker room, we are going for a championship, and that is the only answer to what's the best way to end the season is championship. I feel like that always, it helps. And it kind of goes back to the conversation we were having about like teams that are too transfer heavy, right? Like if you have all these veterans in the locker room that are setting the tone that we are going to win a championship next year, those transfers already know what the hell is going on. You coming in, yes, great. You're a great wide receiver at whatever state, whatever school you came from. Love that for you. We're winning a championship when you get here, though. So it's like having what is he, a 5th-year quarterback now? 5th year, 4th year?
He's a 3-year starter.
5-star. He's a 5-star.
Yeah, he's a former 5-star. This is his 4th year in college.
Starter.
3rd year starting. Yes.
3rd year starting. I mean, yeah. And then it's like you look at the schedule and you're like, okay, Oregon's going to be a hard one. Ohio State's going to be a hard one. Indiana's going to be a hard one, probably. We don't really know with Indiana. We'll get to them. So you're looking at it and you're like, okay, they could come out 10-2. Like they could come out 10-2.
But really,
they could
a team of their caliber needs to be 11-1. But you can't say that because Ohio State went 10-2. So like as long as 10-2, they get to the playoffs.
As long as they're 10-2, 10-2 has to happen. 10-2 is doable. 11-1 would obviously be the cherry on top. You got to win the Big Ten. It is what it is. And yeah, I mean, I don't see why not.
Ultimately, with Penn State, it is what it is. You have to do it. You have to do it for so many reasons because
There are no other questions to be asked at this point.
that's it. That's all.
Thank you so much for coming. That's the Big Ten preview, you guys. No, I'm just kidding.
Our next emerging storyline is young quarterbacks. The Big Ten is full of young quarterbacks, so many with talent, so many who are first-year starters, a couple two second-year starters, and so that's really again kind of dovetailing off of the Penn State thing. This is going to be their best year to win a conference because everyone does have a young
Everybody's new.
quarterback. And
Yeah.
are all these quarterbacks going to hit? It's unlikely that every single one of them does. So who are the young quarterbacks? Julian Sand is the projected starter at Ohio State. I will, just for the sake that Ohio State people are saying it is actually a competition. The other one is Lincoln Keenholz. He's another. One of them is going to be Ohio State starter. Dante Moore at Oregon. Bryce Underwood at Michigan, Damon Williams at Washington, Dylan Raiola at Nebraska, and Aiden Childs at Michigan State.
Pause. Where was Dylan Raiola before this?
Nebraska. He was Nebraska last year, yeah.
But he wasn't the starter last year?
He was.
Oh, you're just saying young. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I was like,
the last three
Okay.
I mentioned were starters, but they were all freshman starters.
Gotcha.
Damon Williams Jr. basically did what Kevin Jennings did, started as a freshman, but mid-season and then finished out. Dylan Raiola and Aiden Childs were starters from the beginning, but it was their first year starting, and so they're going into their second year hoping to be better.
Gotcha. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, so young quarterbacks on these teams, all of these teams, right? Ohio State, Oregon are contenders expecting to make the playoffs and wanting to go to the national championship. Michigan, for whatever reason, has this hype, and people are calling them a playoff contender because Bryce Underwood is a 5-star quarterback. Washington is a team that's trying to get back to that level and could be sort of a dark horse, is a team that is trying to, they're one of a few teams that's made the 14 playoff. They were just recently in a national championship. They want to get back to that level and they think that they can. And Raiola in Nebraska finally got to a bowl game, but they want to be better. They want to be an 8-9 win team. And they're kind of hoping on him and Matt Rule's typical third-year bump. And Michigan State hired Jonathan Smith, and I think Michigan State is a longer rebuild, but they are a team who also made the 4-team playoff. They're a team that historically has been good, and now they're looking at getting passed by Nebraska, by Indiana, by Illinois, by these teams, and they're like, nah, like that's supposed to be us. Like that's where we were in this sport. It was Ohio State, Michigan, and then us, and then Ohio State, Penn State, and then us. So all these schools with young quarterbacks, I think that's going to be interesting. But it also just makes the games more fun to watch because you are going to get young mistakes, right? And so does that lead to upsets and things like that? So that's fun. And then the last one, as we sort of have this long drawn out beef and who runs the playoffs and who's the best conference and this and all these other kind of things, it would make a huge statement if the Big Ten wins 3 in a row. Like 2 is great, but if the SEC immediately comes back, everyone's just going to be like, the SEC's back. That was a little blip, whatever. And the Big Ten could win it the next year, but it's if the Big Ten wins 3 in a row, and it's 3 different teams, which it may not be, but if it's 3 in a row and it's 3 different teams, like that makes a big statement. So that is something to follow, right? Especially if it's just like last year where they get 4 teams in and the SEC only gets 3. And then you win the national championship, you beat a couple SEC. Like there's this sort of like, the Big Ten is still fighting for some recognition and some respect. I believe that the pendulum swings. So even if they're the best team now, they could win this year and lose the next 3, whatever. Like, but I do think it's important for the Big Ten to sort of establish that. And that's a storyline to follow as well, is can they win their 3rd straight national championship? Those are storylines.
Great. Those are storylines. The conference repeating, I think, is also really, really interesting because I feel like we do need to get to a point where it's like, the Big Ten supremacy is like there, but it just doesn't get discussed in the same way. And that's so like odd to me. And not saying that I want it to be in the same way as the SEC, please. But like, why are we acting like the Big Ten ain't like the Big Ten? That's just so odd to me.
And if they win 3, it's going to be much harder to deny.
To continue to be disingenuous.
Hey, the word of the podcast.
The word of the year. Power 2 podcast, where we talk about the power of the word disingenuous.
Talk about it. Let them know. You see how it just rolls off the tongue? You see how it just comes out?
It just pops on out.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like...
Anyways, yeah, it'll start to get real disingenuous if we're not having similar conversations about the Big Ten that we're having about the SEC. And of course, we always talk about, I mean, that's what the name of this podcast derives from, right? The power to the Big Ten and the SEC. But like, we know there's still a level of like automatic assumption of greatness from the SEC that's not necessarily coming towards the Big Ten. But it's like when you take a look, when you look back at the data, it's like,
And I would, personally, I would love to see the spiral that happens with the SEC if they don't win again, like if they don't win this year. I would just love to see the spiral and the complaints and the fabrication, the
mm-hmm,
various things that they sort of come up with as to why this happens. So, top transfers. We are in a transfer world. We're in a world where transfers do matter and
I'm
where
a transfer
transfers can
world.
help you win. But I still contend until proven otherwise that too many transfers can hurt you. So, top transfers, Fernando Mendoza, quarterback at Indiana. Indiana is bringing back a lot of people. Indiana also has to sort of prove to people that last year wasn't just a blip, that they weren't lucky, that they can contend and that they can stay in this group even if they don't make the playoffs again, but to be in that group that contends for a playoff spot. And they bring back a lot of players. They bring back 3 All-Americans on defense. So much of that is going to sit on the quarterback spot. A lot of people don't know who Fernando Mendoza is because he played at Cal. I will tell you now that there is hype around him potentially being the first quarterback drafted. So he is a good quarterback. He has a lot of the things that you look for. And Indiana runs a really good offense. So Indiana was
Mm-hmm.
like average beating people by 30 points. They were beating almost everyone by 30 points last year. If he can sort of step in, that's going to be a big storyline, and that's gonna really factor into this season. The next guy we have, Trebor. Sorry, can't assume
What
there's
a
a V
name.
there. Trevor. Okay. Do you think it's Trebor and there's emphasis on the B, or do you think it's Trevor with a B? So Trebor or Trevor?
How do you say his last name? Pena or Pena?
That has to be Pena, right? It has to be
It
Pena.
might be Trebor.
I
Like,
think it's Trebor. That makes the
I think
most
it's
sense.
Trebor.
Trevor,
Yeah.
Trevor.
Trevor doesn't sound right. I think it's Trebor
We're gonna go
Pena.
with Trebor until we hear
If we are
otherwise.
incorrect, we are so sorry to the
Yes,
Pena family. We will figure it out
yeah.
because I have a complicated name and I do not like when people say my name
And
wrong.
I'm
Like, I
very big
actually
on saying names
will pretend
correctly.
like you aren't speaking to me if you say
Yeah.
my name wrong.
So Trebor
So,
Pena, wide receiver, transfer from Syracuse to Penn State. Would you like to say the thing that you said previously on why this is important?
they did not have no receiving yards for the entire second half of the national champ. Were they in the national
No,
championship?
the Notre Dame
Second
game.
round, third round, whatever. Semifinals. Please.
That's gross.
Did they even have any receiving
Yeah, Tyler Warren, the tight end.
yards
The wide
from the
receivers
tight
had
ends?
no receiving
Okay.
yards.
The wide receivers themselves, the people whose only job is to receive widely.
It is in the name.
It
Receive.
it is receive and then do it widely.
And they did not do it.
There was no receiving and there was no wide receiving. There
No.
was just bodies on the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually there were bodies left because it was a slaughter. Anyways, yeah, they needed wide receivers badly. They needed wide receivers like a dog needs water in the heat.
And
Um,
I think for me, the reason why I don't think that Penn State's going to win the national championship, shocking just to put that out there,
okay,
is
well.
the thing.
He said, now after all of that, I actually don't believe that they're going to win.
No, I don't. I don't. Like, so here's the thing. I think we're like, they had Tyler Warren last year and they
Yes.
didn't win, right?
Yes.
Is this wide receiver going to be Tyler Warren? No. So it's just one of those things where it's really hard to like, we're looking at the fact that they finally have a wide receiver, but I don't think enough people are considering the loss of Tyler Warren and what their offense is going to look like. And so I just think that their offense is going to be worse. But if they win the Big Ten, if they win a national championship, it's going to be because of this receiver. He has a lot of weight on his shoulders.
Period.
Speaking of tight ends, Max Clare, tight end, Ohio State. Um, They shouldn't have let Ohio State do this because the problem that's going to happen is you're going to want to double Jeremiah Smith. And everyone's going to say you have Carnell Tate, and Carnell Tate is great. But you know what's the best friend of a young quarterback? A tight end who can catch the ball. Do you know
Oh my
what
gosh, what?
happens if you double Jeremiah Smith? You're going to put a linebacker, and listen, I am linebackers' biggest linebackers shouldn't cover tight ends. There are very few linebackers in the world who can cover tight ends.
Who can
And
cover
you're
tight
going
ends?
to
Yeah.
have a linebacker. Max Clare is going to be a first round pick as a tight end. He's not, don't get me wrong, he's not Tyler Warren, right? He's not the guy from Georgia who plays for the Raiders. I can't think of his name right now. But he's a step under that. Like, I think he's better than Colston Loveland, and Colston Loveland was the number 10 pick to the Bears. Colston Loveland's the tight end from Michigan. Shouldn't have gave him to Ohio State. That's going to be a big one, especially because young quarterback, and you don't know yet how people are going to play Jeremiah. You can't stop Jeremiah, but there's going to be a lot of coverage. And then when the tight end has 8 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, you're going to have to rethink your whole thing. And that's going to have to
Yeah.
happen early. Like, he's going to have
Yeah.
one of those games early, so people are then just like, holy fuck, I don't know what to do.
What do we do now? Yeah. Yeah.
Next, Emmanuel Pregnon and Isaiah World, putting
What
them
a name.
together. They are offensive tackles, both transfers for Oregon. If they're good, Oregon has a chance to be good. If they're bad, Oregon's young quarterback is going to get sacked a lot and throw a lot of interceptions. Ask me how I know that. He did that at UCLA. If you do not protect his kid, he's going to crumble. That is most quarterbacks, yes, but we have actual living live proof of him doing that. They have to protect him. That is why they went out and got two of the best offensive tackle transfers. They're both going to be very important.
Mm-hmm,
Going to
mm-hmm.
defense, Williams and Awari. Williams
His
won,
first name is Williams?
yeah, Williams and one Waneri.
Nwaneri.
I'm saying that's wrong,
Nwaneri.
and I know.
Nwaneri? Something like
No,
that.
it's African, so it's pronounced as it's spelled. It's Nwanery, Nwanery, I think, something like that. One of the best defensive end transfers. He goes to Nebraska. Nebraska's trying to be good. How do you be good? Well, if you can, if you
Beef up
can,
the defense.
yeah, if you can sack the quarterback, that helps. And
That would be
then
great.
the last one, if you remember Ohio State going to a 34-0 lead against Oregon, you would say, man, do they have anybody in their secondary? The answer is no. The answer is they did
No,
not.
absolutely
They
not.
have one of the best safeties in the country, not named Caleb Downs, now in Dylan Thieneman. Oh my God. What is the name specifically with this show? Like this specific show, the names
And
were
this is why
crazy.
I've been sat here silent, because I was not about to sit here and play with these kids' names. I was
Um,
not doing it. We got Pregnon, Nwaneri, Claire, Trevor Pena,
yeah.
Thinneman. What are
Yeah,
we talking about?
it's this was the all name team. Dylan Thieneman. So those are the transfers who I think are gonna make the biggest
Some
impacts,
differences.
um, especially for teams who are, trying to do things,
Excuse me, that
who are
sounded,
trying to be people, who are trying to make the playoffs and
not who
and
are trying
and
to be
really be
people.
contenders. So contenders,
Period.
DJ, who are our
Yes.
contenders? Surprise the people. I'm sure they can't
Oh
guess.
my gosh. Well, you will be shocked to know that our contenders are Penn State. Wow.
How?
Um, never thought we'd get there. Ohio State and Miss Fashionista herself, Miss Oregon. So Oregon will always be all team fashion. Okay. They will always be first team fashion, second team, everything else. Anyways, I'm just kidding. So we already talked in great length about Penn State and their ability to be contenders. Ohio State obviously is still in the conversation because they just won a championship last year. So I think it would be ridiculous not to include them in the conversation. Now, here's the problem with Ohio State, and I think this is something we've spoken about, is that they set a record for number of draft picks last year. So they lost about 14 guys, which is like, okay. They're returning a good amount of people, but of course we have this new quarterback situation. There's just a lot. There's just a lot that's going on. Jeremiah Smith obviously is in her second year, and we know typically when you have a year like Jeremiah Smith had as a first year, you may not always have that as a second year.
He's
And of
gonna
course,
have it.
then they'll start game planning for him a little bit differently and things like that. You just know how that
He's
goes.
gonna have it.
We know how that goes. He is superhuman, so he's still gonna have a good season. No one's saying he's gonna be ass. It's just going to be different, obviously. So The biggest thing I think with Ohio State, though, is do they have the ability to win a championship again? Probably. They're going to have to put together a couple different pieces and things like that. I am actually more interested in whether or not they're actually going to be Michigan. Like, not to be like, the Big Ten, the small Big Ten connoisseur that I am, but in the small education that I have gotten from an Ohio State fan himself, I do feel like it might be a bigger deal this year is if you guys beat Michigan rather than repeating your championship. So
Yep.
that's the biggest thing that I'm looking at. But
You
yeah, I
can't
mean, you
lose to
guys lost a
Michigan
lot of
again.
stars. You lost a lot of stars on defense for sure. And then you lost some guys on offense. So I think it's just, but not the not the four O linemen
Let
that are
them know.
returning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not them.
Thank you. Because
Not
if we're
them.
gonna talk about Ohio State, we have to be honest. Ohio State has the two best players in college football and the returning four starting offensive linemen.
They are,
Those
yes.
things matter. They
But yeah,
also have a top 10 wide receiver in Cardinal Tate. They have arguably the best tight end in the country in Max Clare. Offense is going to be fine. Defense,
defense.
they oh my God, I cannot do this today, but when I get to talking about Ohio State's linebackers, listen, I'm gonna do it today. I lied. I said I wasn't gonna do it, but I have to do it. Listen,
Give it to us.
Ohio State hasn't had good linebackers since I was in college, damn near. And I'm sorry to the linebackers that were there, they were not to the level. The college football Hall of Fame. The Ryan Shazier was on track to be a NFL Hall of Famer before he broke his neck. So glad that he's still alive and walking again.
Yeah, that's
That
really
was
sad.
so unfortunate. But like those were the linebackers that we had, and we didn't have that. And now we have two 6'3", 6'4", 240-pound monsters.
Those are human beings, by the way. He's talking about human beings.
Like, what are we talking about? We have Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. And then we have a freshman who they're saying is gonna get minutes, that they're calling a third starter when you have Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. That's insane. Shout out to one of and who should soon be a college football Hall of Famer, James Laurinaitis, one of the best linebackers to ever grace college football, for realizing that Ohio State didn't have good linebackers and saying, you know what we need? We need more
Linebackers.
me's. We need
We
more
need more
me's.
me's.
He said, none of y'all in this room could do it. I did. Let me go find him. And what did he do? He found him. And then we have Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs.
We
Not Caleb
have
Williams. Caleb Williams is in the NFL.
yeah. So where the questions on Ohio State live at is on the defensive line. That is a big question. There's a lot of talent there. There are some older players who just haven't started but have a lot of reps. And they brought in a guy from North Carolina, Bill Atchison. But the defensive line particularly is a place that if we have injuries, that's going to be trouble. Like that is a true concern. And then we are breaking in a second safety who's going to be young. You never know with safeties, and the problem with safeties is they're bad. They can give up a lot of touchdowns. Don't expect
Yep.
them to be bad, but that is not a guarantee. And our one we should be good at corner, but one of our corners is a third-year starter who loves to draw pass interference penalties, and the other one looked really good last year, but it's going to be his first year starting. So Ohio State, don't let me get on here and say that they don't have questions. They do. I just think that in a year when everyone has questions except Penn State, they can still contend, and they
Yeah,
are a
don't count them out.
contender. They are going to be a good team.
Moving on to the fashion queens, Miss Oregon. The thing about Oregon that's so interesting is that and I'm not an Oregon fan, but I'm like, if you're an Oregon fan, you would consider last year a good year, right? You went
Uh-huh.
13-0. You basically ran through all the opponents that you weren't expected to run through. You get your bowl, you become bowl eligible, all these things. You're one win away, basically, if it was a 14 playoff from winning a championship. But unfortunately, this might be the one team where playoff expansion actually was a hindrance. And that's
Well,
interesting.
the
Because
playoff giveth and the playoff taketh away.
take it away. It does. And I do think this is one of those years where it's like, okay, like you finally were able to beat Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State all in the same year. You go to the Big Ten championship. You're a contender. People are talking about y'all like y'all could win the Natty. And then that's just not what happens. Unfortunately, Ohio State was like, y'all got us once, y'all not gonna get us again.
Belt to
um
ass.
And here we are. So the question obviously for Oregon is, again, everybody has questions, is can they put together a season like that again? Is that possible? And I know you know a little bit more about the production that they're returning and things like that, because Jordan actually really looks deep into these things. I just like to look at it from a black and white standpoint. Like, I don't care who these people are, because like until they start playing, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, like, people like, oh, but he's a 5-star recruit. I don't care.
Well, let's
I
talk
don't
about it.
care. So
Oregon is returning 40% of their offensive production. That is 107th in the country. They're returning 45% of their defense. That is 95th in the country. Oregon is getting some sort of like Oregon is getting the benefit of the doubt that teams like Ohio State and Alabama and some of these teams get. And I'm not saying that is entirely undeserved. That the thing that I'm going to say about
excuse me.
Oregon is I have concerns that, and not to the level, do not get me wrong, that Oregon is going to be this year's Florida State, and that they don't reach the expectations because the transfers hurt them. Oregon
That's too
is
much.
not
Yeah.
going to win 2 games. Like stop it. They're too good for that. Like, they're not going to be that bad, but they have a lot of transfers at key positions. If one of their offensive line, if one of the 2 offensive line transfers get injured, I hope y'all can hear me knocking on wood, because I do not wish injury
We
on
heard it.
anyone.
That was loud,
They're
actually.
done for, right? They don't like, that's why they had to go out and get 2 of them.
Yeah.
They lost their best tight end. They lose their wide receivers, their top 2 wide receivers. They have 3 former 5-stars in the room, yes, but they do still have to play well. And the thing is, they have a true freshman, Jacorian Moore, who people are saying could be similar to Jeremiah Smith. He's not going to be, but he's going to be good. He's going to be good
In
immediately.
that realm.
But
Yeah.
the problem, and I think the thing that people are misunderstanding, is that for the first half of the year, Jeremiah Smith just got to do things. Because when Ohio State needed something, they went to Emeka Egbuka. It wasn't until the end, towards the playoffs, that Jeremiah Smith became the real go-to third down sort of thing. And we saw that culminate in the national championship when they threw that fade against Notre Dame. But earlier in the year, that was going to a Mecca. And so the thing with Oregon is, yes, they have these young wide receivers, but they don't have their Emeka.
They don't have
Alabama
that
had
guy.
this thing
Yeah.
last year with their wide receiver, who's really, really good. He's great. Great kid. But they didn't have that senior leadership, and his
Mm-hmm.
season dovetailed, and he didn't even end up with 1,000 yards receiving. That is
Mm-hmm.
not to say that he wasn't good. Ryan Williams was great. Ryan Williams is going to be
Great.
really good, but he didn't have the thing that Jeremiah had, which is, I just get to play for 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Jeremiah's first pass, he dropped it. Like he got to sort of build into his expectation. And again, he's just straight up better than all of them. That's no shade. That is just true. He's like, everyone
Talent.
is literally
There is a
saying,
level of raw
like,
talent
that's
that,
just different. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
And so, like, you do have questions about wide receivers because they're all going to be young, even though they're going to be talented. And there's this like, there's this sort of belief that Dante Moore as quarterback is going to be good, but we saw him play for 9 games and he just wasn't good. So it's just like, there's just a chance that the transfer at quarterback doesn't work. There's a chance that either one of the transfers at offensive line or an injury happens. They have young wide receivers. On defense, they had, like, again, they're losing 4 starters on their Joe Moore Award finalists. Offensive line, the only one they're returning is a center. That is a good player to return, but almost everyone else is going to be transfers. One of their players is going to be a 7th-year player at guard. I'm sorry, 7 years, you're not that good. You're good enough
Go
to play, but
to
if you
work.
haven't gotten drafted to the NFL after 7 years, you're not that good. So
Go to
offensive
work.
line
Go get a job.
potentially could be a struggle. They have to replace 9 starters on defense, right? They had 3 for top 100 picks in the draft at defensive linemen, including Derek Harmon, who was a stud. Now, positive, they have Mateo Uangalele, who is probably going to be the best defensive end in the country, or at least should be expected to be. Sorry, countries, no. I think the best defensive end in the country is probably going to be on Texas. Probably going to be the best defensive end in the conference. It should be expected to be a first round pick, and it's going very, very good. He's going to be very, very good. But one good player only gets you so much. But he's going to be a stud. I feel bad for anyone that has to play him. But the one thing I will say about Mateo Uiagalelei, he was young last year, but he racked up a lot of his sacks against nobodies. He had a lot of 2 and 3 sack games against the teams that didn't matter. So he is, and he did start to do this. Don't hear me wrong. He was young. He did start to do this. And he's similar to Jeremiah Smith, just got to play because he had
Yeah.
older players on the line. But
Yeah.
he has to be the guy, if they want to win, that when it's 3rd and 8, and you need a play to win the game, you got to get the sack. You have to make the play, right? And we don't know if he's going to do that. They lose their linebacker, who started 40 games, but one of the players that they're bringing back is Bryce Bottinger, who did lead the team in tackles, so he's a good player. Secondary, they're basically replacing everyone in the secondary, and their secondary was bad last year, i.e., getting torched by Ohio State and other teams. They lose both of their corners, and so they're bringing in a corner. They're bringing in 2 transfers at corner, and they're bringing in Dylan Thieneman. They also have a 5-star freshman, Trey McNutt, who is supposed to be very, very good. But again, freshman at safety, really hard to do. So I feel like Oregon is just in this place where, like, it could go well. I sort of expect it to go well, but it could. There's a small chance, a bigger chance than normal that it could be disastrous. There's a bigger chance than normal that they could go 7 wins. I'm not projecting that, especially because they have a pretty easy schedule, but they
Yeah.
could lose. Like they should be a playoff team, but I don't know that they're realistically best team in the Big Ten, number 1 pick to the playoff. Like, I think they're going to take a slight step back, but they do have a lot of talent. They do have a lot of good young players. They have good coaches. They're going to be a good team, but there's just a lot
They'll be
more
on the
room for
edge.
error
Yeah.
than, say, Ohio State, Penn State, and some of the other teams
Yeah.
in the country.
They're still a contender, though, at the end of the day, because, you know, college football is any given Saturday.
Yes.
But yeah, so those are our top contenders. And then obviously we have our, who are these people?
Dark
Our dark
horses.
horses. Why can't I talk? We have our dark horses. So these are the individuals that can either A, sneak in and potentially win the whole thing, or they're going to ruin somebody else's season. As Jordan so aptly put it in whatever episode that is. You had a really good explanation of what a dark horse was. I think it was last week
Yeah,
when we were talking about Oklahoma.
it was last week
Um,
because I think you looked at it and you were like, I wouldn't consider these teams dark horse, so I explained why they were in there.
when I was like, you're right, they could ruin a couple seasons. So the first one is the Illinois. I don't know how to say their mascot,
Fighting
so I will
Illini.
refrain. Whatever, that sounds stupid, and I'm just not saying it. Over there in Illinois, um, why can't I find their thing? Okay, to be honest, I wasn't paying attention to Illinois last year. I was just like, wow, they're doing well. That's
I,
about
I
it.
will be I will be quick on Illinois because I've been lengthy on everyone else. Illinois did what Penn State did without the name recognition. And that's
Fabulous.
simply
Love
it.
that for them.
They lost their best wide receiver guest, but they bring back almost everyone. I'll just read it here, just very quickly. Illinois is bringing back 78% of their returning production on offense. That is good for 6th in the country. They're bringing back 72% of their defense. That is good for 11th in the country. They are
Period.
one of, again, another few teams that has a 3rd-year starter at quarterback. They have All-American, at least 1 or 2 All-American, I think, returning on defense. They are returning almost all of their offensive line. They are bringing back 11 starters. So the starters thing is kind of weird. 8 of the starters are their own, and then they stole 3 starters from
From another
Wisconsin.
school.
And
Yeah.
literally, like, we lost a linebacker, we took a linebacker. We lost a safety, we took a safety. Like, 1-for-1 transfers. So essentially, all 11 people on their defense were starting for someone last year, but 8 of them started for Illinois. Um, and they bring back their entire starting offensive line, all 5 of them, right? And so much of winning starts with the offensive line, and that I just think that, and then they won 10 games last year, and
They did.
they beat South Carolina in a bowl game, so it's a good
And they
team.
had 5 one-score wins. So it's like, These are some dogs.
Yes.
Like, this is not like they just out here blowing people out. Like,
They
they're out
fought.
here working in the trenches
And
for their dubs.
yes, and Brett Bielema is just a great coach. He doesn't get the respect that he deserves, but he's a great coach. And so this is a team that realistically they are going to be disappointed if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like this should be a playoff team. And this is a team that could definitely ruin some seasons, but could sneak into the Big Ten championship because their schedule is also pretty easy. So like, could this like I'm not projecting it, but like, what happens if they beat Ohio State, right? If they beat Ohio State, that could put them in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah,
That
good.
alone. So that is them. Essentially why they're a dark horse. And we already talked, the other one is Indiana. We already talked about Indiana. Because a lot of what they're returning and different things because we were talking about their quarterback and the emerging storylines. But Indiana is also bringing back um a lot. They did a lot with transfers. They have Fernando Mendoza. And so this is going to, I'm not going to skip, but I just want to say briefly, I think one of Indiana or Illinois is the Big Ten's fourth playoff team. If one of these two
Oh,
teams is
I
not
agree.
good, then the Big Ten does not get four, right?
They just get the 3. Yeah.
But they play each other September 20th. And in my opinion, that game determines who gets into the playoff.
Who gets in?
Like
Yeah.
they're like essentially they're fighting to be the fourth best team. They're fighting to be 10-2 at worst. 10-2 in the Big Ten gets you into the playoff. That if one of and then Indiana has a harder schedule, so it is going to be harder for them. But Illinois, for example, and I had Illinois really only plays Ohio State. I'll run through their schedule very briefly, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Illinois, their schedule is Western Illinois, Duke, Western Michigan, Indiana, USC, Purdue, Ohio State, Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, Northwestern. When you hear that schedule, the only team you say there is a guaranteed loss is Ohio State. I'm not predicting them to go 11-1, but they have a team and a schedule that could be 11-1, which is what Indiana
Yeah.
did last year. So for them, they are a team that if they don't make the playoff with their returning production, with their coach, and with their schedule, they're going to be highly disappointed.
I agree.
And then the last one that I sort of threw on here last, just at the end, because this is a
Yeah, you
team.
did throw her in because she was not here from the
Because
beginning, but
I was
I see
debating
why.
them the whole time. This is a
I
team.
was also kind of in that same space where I'm like
Yeah. And the team that's
about
on
it,
here
but go
is
ahead.
Washington. We talked about that a little bit with Damon Williams Jr. Washington, I think, is just they're a team that's gonna be pretty solid. They have some good players. They're bringing back the running back Jonah Coleman, who people thought were going to the league. They are bringing back Damon Williams, who completed 78% of his passes, had 8 touchdowns, only 1 pick, and is a very good runner.
Wow, he's better than Carson Beck.
Hey,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
listen.
I'm sorry.
Jonah Coleman was 1,000-yard wide receiver. They hired one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, and Ryan Walters, who is the reason that Illinois is at this place. He started that and like stockpiled their defensive talent, and
hmm
they play Ohio State, Michigan, Illinois, and Oregon. Their
God bless
schedule is
him.
too hard for them to be a real contender, but they're in a perfect place to ruin someone's season.
Ruin some seasons. Let's
If
ruin
if
some
if
seasons.
Oregon loses 2 games, right? If Oregon loses 2 games, they lose to Penn State, and who was let's just pick one. Oregon's schedule. Let's say, so Oregon plays Penn State, Indiana, and Iowa. Those are teams that they could lose to. They also play Oregon State, who they shouldn't lose to, but that's a rival. So let's say they lose to Penn State and Indiana.
hmm
Two losses. They get into the last game of the year. It's at Washington. If they lose this game, they do not make the playoffs. They're not getting in at 9-3, and they go at Washington, a rival. That's why Washington's on this list. Washington could single-handedly be the reason that 1 or 2 teams don't make the playoff
Don't make
because
it.
they give
Yeah.
them an upset loss and a game that they couldn't afford to lose. Again, those teams being Ohio State, Illinois, and Oregon. and that knocks them out of the playoffs. And so that's why they're also they're just going to be really fun to watch. But that's why I have them on this as a dark horse contender.
Yeah. They're very much flying under the radar because, I mean, last year their schedule was just so beyond ridiculous that it was like, yeah, of course Washington sucks. So it's like this year, it's like, okay, well, hold on, because they had some they had some injury issues, they had some other stuff going on, so now they're at a different position. But that is, I mean, no, I don't think that means they're going to win the Big Ten all of a sudden. But hey, they're gonna be a fun team to watch. Now, speaking of watching, what are some critical matchups? We are podcasting today. What are the critical matchups?
So I have a handful. We have Penn State, Oregon, Penn State,
Duh.
Ohio State, Indiana,
Also, duh.
Illinois, Ohio State, Michigan, as you mentioned, Oregon, Indiana, Michigan, USC. I just put that one on there as like just sort of like a fun game. I don't know if that's like super critical. And then Michigan, Washington, because also a good game. Also, like that is going to matter, and Washington as sort of a dark horse contender for the playoffs, sort of thing. Like, I think that's going to be an important game as well. So,
And y'all just gonna have to tell me about them because I don't watch Michigan. Like as a rule
as
in
a
my
rule,
life. As a rule in my life, I will never be turning on a Michigan game. So sorry about you. The Ohio State game, I'm just gonna have to check the score because I will not be watching it with my eyes.
that game you
'Cause
have
that's
to
how much
watch.
I don't fuck with cheaters.
You have to watch Ohio State, Michigan. I will.
I will glance.
That's a game you have to
I will
watch. I'm sorry, you
glance.
have to watch it.
I will glance at
Anyways,
it.
DJ, how many playoff participants are you projecting?
Oh, but I mean, it's got to be 4. It's got to be 4. If the SEC can get up to 4, so can the Big Ten. Yeah, it's 4. And we agree on pretty much everything except for that 4th spot, which I know we just said will probably more than likely be determined when they play each other on September 20th. I have Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and Indiana. And you have
Ohio,
the opposite.
yes, I have Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and Illinois.
So September 20th is going to be a really, really fun day for the both of us. But yeah, I think they get 4 in. And if they don't get 4 in, I'll be genuinely shocked.
Yep. And
Genuinely.
I have Ohio State winning the conference. Do you have the same?
I did when we started the episode, but now I'm like, maybe Penn State actually does win the conference. I don't know. Like Penn State wins the conference and then Ohio State gets in off the at large because like I do think it's going to be them in the conference title game. But I'm like, knowing Penn State, they're going to end up winning the Natty off losing the Big Ten title probably. Because I have a very strong feeling if Penn State wins the Big Ten, if they win the Big Ten, they're not going to win the
I
Natty.
agree with that. I do agree. I do agree with
So
that.
I'm like, and my way too early prediction,
Honestly,
one
if
of my
Penn
way
State,
too early. Sorry, I was just gonna say one of my way too early predictions for the Natty is Penn State. So I'm like, okay, hold on. If they
how do
win, no, yeah, we're gonna go with Ohio is gonna win the conference.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah. If Penn State wins the Big Ten, they're losing first game.
they're losing.
What's gonna happen? They're gonna get Oregon. Like,
They're
I'm
gonna get
sorry.
Oregon.
I'm sorry. It's like they're not gonna know what to do with themselves.
They're gonna get Oregon. That is so. It's kind of like the New York Knicks. Like they went to the Eastern Conference Championship and they did way too much. They got niggas' names on street signs and stuff. And then y'all, wow. I mean, cooked absolutely hibachi style.
Please
Just
help.
like just cooked.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, hold on. We got to think about this from like a standpoint of like football luck and what we know. I don't think because last year that was true. All the teams that won their conferences did not even make it to the Natty.
Yeah.
So,
well, yes.
except for
Notre Dame also
am I
doesn't
wrong?
have a conference. No, I was just saying Notre Dame doesn't have a conference.
Well,
But
yeah, but I'm saying like all the conference championship winners though, because we talked about it. That first week bye was actually not the best situation. So yeah, okay, yeah, we're gonna go with. Sorry, I went through that entire circle just to say that I
Ohio
agree
State,
that Ohio
yeah.
State.
I think that Ohio State, who knows if they win a national championship or not, but Ohio State still has expectations. They still have to beat Michigan. They still have to win the Big Ten. I think winning the national championship relieves so much pressure on them
It does.
that
It does.
they just sort of, I think that they
come out
go
and play
back
more
and
free.
yeah, they play more free.
Yeah.
They have a young team. They have the expectation to be Ohio State, but they don't have the expectation to be the best team in the country and to win a national championship.
Correct.
And I think
agree.
that puts them in a scary position. And I think the young guys, they play free. I think Penn State
And
has
playing as the reigning national champion. I mean, that has a little ring to it, honey.
So
So
yeah, and yeah. Okay. Ending show.
Good
Do you
times.
have any final thoughts on the Big Ten before we go to our last 2 minute report?
I have a feeling that besides the Big 12, the Big 10 is going to be the most competitive conference. Like if we were to rank them, Big 12, Big 10, ACC, then SEC as far as like competitiveness in the conference.
I
Um,
would switch the ACC with the SEC only because I think there's unfortunately like one good team in the ACC, where the SEC at least has a couple. I think Clemson's gonna sleepwalk through the ACC.
that's crazy. I literally don't agree with that.
Yeah,
I just feel like the SEC is already like it's already sewed up. Like it's Texas versus everybody. Like
that's
it's
fair.
already
Okay,
sewed up.
that's fair.
That's how I'm looking at it because I'm like with the ACC to me it's still very much like up in the air. And that's not me being a homer for
You
like
have
even from an
Miami,
SMU
you have Georgia
standpoint, but like
Tech, you
there's
have
all this.
SMU.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Like with the SEC, it's like
Georgia,
who's winning it
Alabama,
besides
Texas.
Texas? Like respectfully, because Bama, I still think that Bama's going to be asked this year. Like no shade to the everybody, but kind of because I don't have high expectations for Bama. Ever since Nick Saban said thank you so much, my expectations for Bama went straight into the toilet. They're going
Honestly,
to be successful off the strength of the guys that he's recruited. Like we're still looking at Nick Saban's team.
and that's why I think they do it this year,
So
and then
yeah,
they really hit their dip.
then it's really like
But
damn,
honestly, like truthfully, going into the season, I had low expectations for Alabama, and then I like did their preview, and I was like, oh, hold on,
they might be all right. They might be all right.
there's a couple people here that I
But they
wasn't
still got beat by
expecting.
Vanderbilt. So for me, I'm just going.
You right, you ain't wrong.
I'm just gonna be. I'm gonna be side eyeing Bama because sorry. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. Anyways,
That's two
that's
minute
all.
report. Mine is very quick because I didn't have one. Derek Jeter just signed a deal with Netflix for a 7-part documentary. Derek Jeter being one of my favorite athletes of all time. Derek Jeter being the reason why I'm a Yankees fan. I'm excited. I have not finished his documentary on ESPN, which is like crazy. Like you're supposed to be a Derek Jeter fan. It was 10
It's
episodes.
long.
It was I think it
It's
was
long.
paced a little too slowly for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and then whatever. I also tried to watch during football season last year, which was not a good idea for me because then I
Well,
got
that's not
busy.
smart. You should
Um,
you should do it
so
now,
yeah, I'm gonna go
probably.
through and finish that one. But yeah, I'm just excited. I love Derek Jeter. I'm very happy for that documentary, and because he has one and it's 10 episodes, I'm interested in like the how they
Similarities.
do it differently and what
Mm-hmm.
they sort of focus on. Um, yeah.
Well, speaking of documentaries, I just watched one recently because it just came out August 7th on Prime Video, and that is Taurasi. Um, it's so funny when Diana Taurasi announced her retirement a few months ago. I remember tweeting, "Gosh, I can't wait to watch the Diana Taurasi documentary." And then Amazon was like, "We heard from your lips to God's ears,
Hmm.
Taurasi coming out
Hey.
August 7th." So Taurasi is a 3-part docu-series, 42 minutes long. You can watch it you can watch it in the afternoon, watch it while you're working from home, whatever the case is. It's very, very, but also don't do nothing that you plan on focusing on because it probably was one of the most engrossing documentaries that I've watched in a long time. Like, and I was not alone. Like I was watching it like just on TV, but there's another person around, and even they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so interesting!" Like what? It is brilliantly done in ways that I can't even like. I don't even want to like drag it, but like I'm a big documentary person, as you guys know. Or if this is your first episode watching, most of the time my last 2 minute report is a damn documentary. I love documentaries and I love sports documentaries. I watch them all the time, and this one is easily one of my favorite ones. Just the way they told her story, the amount of time that they took where it felt like they spent just enough time on something, but not too much time, to your point with the whole 10 episode thing. There's only 3 episodes, but they told her story in such a full way that if you didn't know anything about Diana Taurasi prior to, you have a couple little bits that you can take away and say, okay, like you have a full scope of like who she was, not only as like a person, but as a player. Because, and I think it's so timely because the WNBA has become something so entirely different than what Diana experienced in her 20-year career. And I think it's so important that you learn about the person who was the superstar before there really was a WNBA superstar, because that's truly who she is. And is one of the best human beings, period, male or female, to ever have picked up a basketball. So if you're interested in that, I would highly suggest it. It was really good. There's also some crazy stuff in her backstory that I just did not know. Like I thought that was a white woman. That is not a white woman. So I already feel bad about that.
Hmm.
That is an Argentinian woman. My bad. But yeah, it's a good story. That's all I have to say.
Well, I'll be watching that at some point as well.
That's really good. You'll get through it real quick because you'll want to watch the whole thing. Like the way they to do the episodes, you'll get through it.
Yeah, I might watch it tomorrow when I'm at work. But all right, that's the show. As always, thanks for listening. You can follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Get Defensive Sports Network. You can follow us on Twitter. Sorry, not Twitter. You can follow us on TikTok at
Don't
GD
follow us on
Sports
Twitter. We have
Network.
nothing there.
And we will catch you next week with our playoff preview show.
Ooh, yes, and if you are bored and you feel like watching WNBA games together, at NationD on Twitch. I'll see you there.